a world-famous law firm who charged $2,000 per hour used AI to support a legal case, but ended up being challenged by a judge because the legal citations weren't real. And the worrying part, the output looked perfect.
It was structured properly, written professionally, and delivered with total confidence, which means if you're reading it quickly, you probably wouldn't even question it.
And that's exactly the problem, because this isn't just happening to law firms, it's happening to marketing businesses, content, and other businesses every single day.
So in this episode, we're going to break down exactly what happened, why AI behaves like this, and how to use it properly without putting your business at risk.
Welcome back to the Marketing Podcast for Local Businesses, the show that gives you practical, proven marketing advice to help you grow your business right here in the UK. My name's Adam. I'm a best-selling Amazon published author, an AI enthusiast and presenter, a founder of www.websitedesigners.london. We've helped businesses generate tens of millions of pounds online through smarter design and marketing.
And my name's Josh. I'm the founder of ImproveMySearchRanking.com, a specialist SEO and AI search agency based in South London. And we're a 3-time award winner at the UK Search Awards. Over the past 10 years or so, we've worked with more than 1,000 businesses, helping them generate well over £200 million in sales.
Brilliant. Let's break down this case that I read at first in the Financial Times about this law firm who charged $2,000 per hour, but ended up presenting a legal case with fabricated legal citations to a judge. So they are global. In fact, I mean, it's been widely reported, so there's no kind of harm in actually naming them. They're an elite law firm called Sullivan and Cromwell, and they did admit to this, the use of this AI hallucinated document, but they are a global, reputable law firm, and they are infamous for representing a lot of high-profile cases, such as I believe the FTC case, the kind of crypto company that went under, and other sorry, FTX, not FTC, bankruptcy liquidation. So ultimately, they used AI to assist in their legal research and drafting, and the output of what they presented included case citations, legal precedent, and their supporting argument. And everything really appeared properly formatted. It was professional. It looked professional, structured correctly, and stylistically, it was consistent with what a real legal report consists of. And that's exactly all the benefits of AI, I guess, right? It makes our life so much easier by producing these fantastically, real, genuine looking reports and outputs. It mimics expert level output extremely well.
Exactly. So as you alluded to, the issue wasn't how it looked or the quality of the writing. It was, of course, the fabrication of this information that was completely false and tried to be used in a situation where there's such high stakes and it's obviously illegal to lie in these kind of scenarios. So the AI hallucinated and invented cases. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't really understand what a case is. I believe it is where in the past there was a case, an example similar case, and it was proven to be fine or something. I think that's along the lines of what it is.
And they used the kind of that precedent, the outcome of that particular case.
Exactly. Okay, cool. Yeah, so the cases were made up. The legal references that they fabricated or hallucinated could not be verified, and therefore the judge identified inconsistencies and the case failed.
Yeah. And specifically, well, the head of the law firm's restructuring practice, because it was a restructuring case, actually apologized in a formal letter to the New York federal judge, admitting the mistakes and admitting that they misquoted US bankruptcy code and citing cases incorrectly
Mm.
in the court case.
Yeah.
So they issued the apology. Um, it was wild. I mean, it is wild even. And this isn't a small time case. This is a small time lawyer or law firm. Um, this there must be due process that would have followed in order to land on the judge's desk,
Mm.
right? You'd expect that
Mhm.
we're 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 discussing this. We don't know the facts here, but you'd expect that would have gone through a number of professionals before it was submitted. So either I guess the review was rushed, maybe, or um, trust in the AI output was just too high.
Mm.
Um, uh, the system, I guess, the process failed here is what
Mm.
we're trying to
Mm.
outline, right? The process of reviewing, checking,
Mm.
and the human in the loop
Mm.
was missing
Yeah.
there.
Precisely. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Was there a human to check anything along this process? Maybe there was supposed to be one, and that person didn't do their job.
Maybe.
So this translates also to the business world, of course. And if you think instead of legal citation, what about the statistics you use in your marketing, the claims you have in your advertisements, the strategy that AI advises you as a business owner? We need to make sure you're not falling for the same hallucinations on your side. AI often produces an output that looks very credible, sounds very authoritative, but it's not always true, as we've just kind of mentioned in this case here. AI hallucinates a lot. We need to double check things.
Absolutely. So people have talked about human in the loop. I've mentioned it a couple of months ago across my social media, and sometimes abbreviated to HITL, human in the loop. What does it actually mean? Well, e essentially, it's human oversight embedded into your AI workflow. So it's not just checking at the end, it's checking throughout the multiple stages. Check your prompt, check the output, check the decision that you're using. If you're using AI to make a decision for you or help you make a decision, check the whole. Uh, just don't rely on its decision. Make sure the thought process that AI has used that you are comfortable with as well. And there are different levels of human in the loop, right? You can have a quick review. You can go more in depth by fact checking key claims, or you can go even more in depth than that and fully validate every single source before you go ahead and use any statistics or information as well.
So how important is the human in this human in the loop is one thing is coming to my mind, because
For sure.
if you are somebody who's not detail orientated, or you're just trying to rush things, so I suppose the human in the loop may not even help in that situation. You need somebody who is actually going to check properly, rather than, because I'm sure that law firm, they must have had somebody whose job it was to review each of those citations, and they obviously failed in that regard. So maybe there needs to also be a human checking the human in the loop to make sure.
And, ultimately, some people, whenever I presented a few times on AI, and a couple of some of the questions I get was, um, you get the skeptics,
Mhm.
right? And it's always like, oh, AI makes a lot of mistakes, it hallucinates too much. We still need professionals. For me, that's whilst it's somewhat true, I do find that more often than not comes from a place of fear.
Mhm.
Or, oh, let's not use AI, it's going to take my job.
Mhm.
A huge advocate of AI.
Mhm.
However, if you are not an expert on the particular topic that you're asking AI for assistance with,
Mhm.
you need to have a human in the loop to do more in-depth analysis.
Mhm.
If you are an expert in the field and you are just getting AI to maybe tidy things up, then you don't need to go into, you'll know immediately from looking at the output whether it's wrong or right,
Mhm.
and then be able to then
Mhm.
do something about it.
Mhm.
So I do feel like it needs a bit of a common sense approach,
Mhm,
right? So if we've asked it to, I don't know, produce some sort of marketing plan,
mhm,
specifically SEO or GEO,
mhm,
um, and AI said something like, "Oh, in order to appear in AI and have your website appear in AI, you need to do a cartwheel
mhm,
or do a roly poly, and it will happen."
mhm,
Right? Obviously, anyone reading that will be like, "Well, it doesn't sound right,"
mhm,
but so you don't need to be an expert to
mhm,
check that, right?
mhm,
But if the output is something like, "Oh, in order for your website to appear in AI, you basically need to write 10,000 words on every single page."
mhm,
We can then, as an expert, so a kind of a layperson, a non-expert might not know that's inaccurate.
mhm,
We would though,
mhm,
right? So then we would be like, well, I'm not going to use that because
mhm,
that's not true.
mhm,
So the point here I'm trying to make is, if you it pros you need a common sense approach. If you're an expert in the field, you'll know immediately. If you're not, have a more inquisitive
mhm.
mindset to the output.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some reputable sources and from kind of the world of AI and what they say
Mhm.
around the human illusion.
Yeah. So very similar to what you're saying just there. According to IBM, having a human in the loop improves model reliability over time. So if you have a human checking the output and correcting it, so if it said you need 10,000 words and to rank and appear in AI, and you would chat back to it and say, that's not actually the case, here's some evidence, some X, Y, Z, that will improve the model's reliability over time. Humans also help correct errors and refine outputs. They can it's particularly critical in high risk environments as well, like the legal sector, healthcare sector, particularly those two.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that there'll probably be other sectors as well. Might get people in the comments be like, "Well, how about the sector I work in? That's also important, of course." But examples like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Then MIT said that AI systems can display overconfidence bias, and I'd certainly agree with that in an overconfident way as well. Yeah, oftentimes it tells you, this is the 100% the best way of doing it, and you go back to it and say, you've gone over the character limit for the meta description. How can it be possibly the best way? And it apologizes and says, "Oh, yes, you're right. Sorry. Here is the best way of doing it." And then it makes another mistake, and they certainly have an overconfidence bias.
And we've seen that in the news, right? I mean, I think in a previous episode we've talked about this, but briefly we'll just quickly touch on it. There have been cases which the outcome of reliance on AI and its overconfidence has resulted in significantly worse outcomes, detrimental outcomes. People have lost their lives by listening
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
AI when they use it as a therapist to
Yeah.
convince them to go and take their own life,
Mm.
as the best outcome for dealing with whatever they were dealing with.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, separately in a separate case, there have been instances where, someone's AI has convinced someone to completely quit their job, even though they had a mortgage
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
lots of expenses,
Hmm.
to go and pursue this billion-dollar unicorn business idea.
Hmm.
Whereas in reality, the business idea was completely flawed. They had no experience and it was just overinflating
Hmm.
and over agreeing
Hmm.
with the user,
Hmm.
which has caused then, again, financial ruin for the individual person.
Yeah. So OpenAI has also said the models optimize for fluency and coherence, not for factual accuracy. So that's a pretty big red flag when you're trying to rely on AI for real and true information. So ChatGPT, Gemini, all the LLMs, they're not really optimized for checking the truth. And I suppose at the end of the day, what is the truth as well? That can be some people's truth is different to other people's truths as well. So important to note that. So yeah, AI is not designed to know whether it's right or wrong. It's simply predicting. It's a predicting what the next word should be based on the information it's been trained on. It doesn't know what is true or false, really.
Correct. Exactly that. And that's a nice segue to talking about why hallucinations happen, Why does AI get things wrong?
Mm.
We can talk about it in three buckets. Number one, the fact that it's the gener what it generates is based on probability. To what you just said, Josh, AI predicts the next word based on likelihood. So it's essentially just statistics.
Mhm.
So it based on the data it's trained on, like you just said, it then predicts what the next word should be, right? And it's not retrieving 10 blue links like Google to then give you a source for you then to go and investigate further. It's not kind of retrieving sources like in a similar way to that. It's so you've got to really check the sources when you're using it. Secondly, data gaps. If training data is incomplete, if the LLM, the large language model, is based on trained data which is incomplete or unclear, then the output's going to be incomplete or unclear
Mhm.
or wrong. And what will happen is it just fills the gap with the next plausible thing that it thinks it should be
Mhm.
in the output, I guess, right? And thirdly, completion bias. The model is trained to complete answer. It doesn't. It's not trained to say, "I don't know."
Mhm.
Sorry,
Mhm.
right? Um, so that's something just to be wary about.
The whole data gap thing worries me to some degree because a lot of people believe AI is going to invent a future where it solves so many things that we're hoping to solve, for example, cancer or any kind of medical condition. But I have this thought that if AI is trained on human discovery and human data, what happens if our human data is inherently missing things that we can't even perceive or see as a human? So there might be, I don't know, a molecule or something that we haven't discovered, or a type of atom we haven't seen, or something we can't even perceive. And
Hmm.
if we need to know that first to solve cancer,
Hmm.
how can AI, if AI is trained on human data in the first place, even if it's getting better and better and better, it's missing some key points that may not even exist. But that's a bit of a
Yeah,
side point.
I guess maybe the discussion is, can AI generate new ideas?
Mm,
Because if it's trained on things that we already know as a human
mm,
race,
mm,
can it then come up to say, "Oh, I've discovered a new molecule that
mm.
humans don't know about"?
Probably not. But I guess it can link subject A and subject B that haven't been linked before and come up
Maybe.
with ideas there. But can it invent something completely brand new?
I don't think it can.
Maybe not. Yeah.
And that's where I think humans, that's where, as a business and as a person, you can value add
Mhm.
um, your service or product because you're going to be providing intellectual property, i.e., new ideas.
Mm. Yeah. It's interesting. So hallucinations aren't random. They're not obvious, and they're often indistinguishable from
Mm,
real answers. So
really? Yeah.
yeah. So you need to be very careful. You need to double check everything. You need to have a human in the loop in all scenarios to ensure what is being stated is factually correct. It's not going to get you in trouble. Often statistics are fabricated. There's studies that have been invented, have never taken place, and incorrect explanations of technical terms. So, despite the fact that your AI LLM might sound very confident, you need to be careful and check everything.
Agree. So, you're most, as a business, you're most exposed if we think about marketing, um, using SEO content with statistics, ads with performance claims. So, or you do that, you use AI to do a bit of research and you said, oh, AI said that it's using the cream that you sell that has cured 70% of people's eczema, and then you rely on that, you use that data of 70% because AI told you to, and then you just use that as a claim in your ads, for example. So just be careful there. Any financial or legal guidance or any implications on health as well. Um, and then ultimately, there are going to be many other areas where accuracy matters most, but those are just a few ideas there.
On the SEO front, back in June as of last year, so June 2025, Google began issuing manual action penalties for websites that um, scaled scaled content abuse. So websites that excessively use AI to generate content at scale. So generating, instead of publishing 5 pages a month, this website suddenly started publishing 100 or 1,000 pages per month, and this led to those sites being blacklisted, basically been taken off Google in many cases. So you need to be careful with that
Mm,
as well.
interesting.
So yes, common behaviour tends to look well to check. So you need to check the sources. If you're getting some information from AI, double check the sources. Ask the LLM to provide the link to where it's got that data from, so you can double check it and validate it yourself. Um,
And just an example on that is when I was putting together social media posts and even this, not just a script, but just the kind of coming up with a nice social media post to talk about this particular case of the law firm publishing and sending kind of unfactual information. I asked for some sources. It gave me an IBM, an MIT, and then OpenAI, three links,
mm,
of which neither actually had a real page each. Brought me
mhm,
to a 404 page not
mm,
found. So I then went and did my own research and made sure the facts that
mm,
we were using were accurate.
mhm,
So it's still happening today, like this week.
mhm,
So
mhm.
just a real world example,
Yeah. Yes, AI makes things faster, but causes lots of issues. So humans reduce the friction by making sure, double checking everything.
for sure. So look, you can there are many risks that could occur if you don't have a human in the loop. There are reputational risks, so incorrect information will reduce trust if you kind of fall into that group. There could be operational risks, so your decisions could ultimately be based on incorrect data. Like again, well, reputational risk, we're talking about this law firm. Operational risks, well, their decision on they're putting together a case. Uh, this law firm was putting together a case to defend their client. They're going to be relying on wrong case law. Legal and compliance risks, well, making misleading claims that you know, of using various bits of case law and precedent to then put together their case, and then this will have legal implications,
Mhm,
right? So reputational risk, operational risk, legal compliance risk are kind of another a few more risks to really think about there.
mm. Yeah, and those errors can compound over time too. So from another standpoint, if you use AI to get statistics wrong, you use it for a blog, you use it in your ads, you use it in your sales process, those small errors in fake statistics are going to scale quickly when you can use AI without checking it.
Yeah, sure. Um, let's talk about practical human in the loop frameworks. Yeah, so y- you don't need to be complex about the way you check your work, or you just need to be consistent. So when you generate, if you want to generate a draft or an idea or structure using AI, just review the work. Ask, does this make logical sense? Does anything fall off? Is anything too generic or too confident? And then verify your information, especially claims or statistics, or even the sources like the IBM, MIT, OpenAI example I just gave. You can use Google to do that further bit of research, or trusted publications that you know of. So going to the MIT website or going to the Harvard Business Review website. You could even use your own data that you've collected as primary research and then just refine everything. Just say, okay, now you have the real data, or you verified data, you're happy with that, you can use the output. Or if you've just got the data and you're happy with your data that you've accumulated and gathered, then add some context and add your own experience, because that will then, eh, if we think about EEAT, is it experience,
Expertise,
expertise, authority,
authority,
and
trustworthy.
trust.
Mhm,
Experience goes a long way for ranking, and be specific as well.
mhm.
Specificity is another great thing to add when you're refining.
Yeah. I suppose people are using AI to save themselves time.
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons why they're skipping, or perhaps skipping
Yeah.
this other stuff. They don't want to do the research themselves, but you need to do it. It may slow you down, but it's required.
But ultimately, even, I, I'd love for an experiment to be kind of conducted. I'm sure there are experiments already out there, right? It still will save you time. There's no doubt. But Pete, you're absolutely right. And again, I've had that question come to me as well. But if I'm having to check all the work, it won't save me the time. I bet you if you timed yourself, it absolutely would,
Mm,
because the sources it gives you,
mm,
you might then you might be able to, for example, MIT, OpenAI, and IBM are the three sources that we've talked about today.
mhm,
I didn't necessarily immediately think to go to IBM, for example.
mhm,
Then I went onto the IBM website and I found the actual URL and I found the output and the source.
mhm,
So that saved me time. That
mhm,
saved me thinking power. Uh, no doubt about it. Otherwise, I'd be Googling, going to endless webs, going page two, page three. So 100%, there is no doubt. Yes, it might not save you time with everything you do, but that's where you'll learn, and where AI does save you time and where you find it most
mhm,
beneficial.
mhm. It'll be interesting to see how humans use AI in the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years, because I wonder if this issue will become more prevalent over time as perhaps humans become maybe more lazy because they're just using AI from their school days through their work years, and they're not
Mm.
going to actually do this double checking. Maybe this is the new curriculum at school in 2027. People need to have a class on how to verify AI output.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. But there is a great strategic opportunity for our listeners here. Most businesses optimize for speed, but some may not optimize for accuracy, right?
Yeah. So if you combine the AI speed with your own human judgment,
Sure.
then you're going to get higher quality outputs. You're going to get better decisions and stronger trust.
And that essentially will help businesses differentiate themselves because
Yeah.
they're producing efficiently their service or product,
Mm,
uh, and it's done at speed,
mhm,
but also it's accurate and authentic as
mm,
well.
mhm,
So that's where you can differentiate
mm.
yourself. So it's just, yes, you should absolutely adopt AI, and there are businesses that aren't adopting AI, but have the discipline as well when you use AI. Because ultimately, AI is one of the most powerful tools businesses have ever had. It's a once in a generation opportunity, or maybe not once in a generation, but it's an opportunity that has come around and will change the way we do things in this generation and generations going forward, no doubt. Um, but it's not a replacement for critical thinking, for sure.
It's more an amplifier. So, and what it amplifies depends entirely on how you use it.
For sure. So before you use anything AI gives you, ask yourself one question: who checked this? Thank you for listening. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us 5 stars, give us a follow. It really helps us get found. And please drop us a comment with any other tips that you might be able to give our listeners. Thank you for listening.